the man who's calling tonight's game, All-Star Game on Fox, with Joe Buck, the Baseball Hall of Famer, who I believe, if I had to take a guess, was in the bullpen at the time. He's John Smoltz. How are you, John?
I'm doing good, but Bo Jackson didn't give me what I wanted. because with one out, runners on first and third, after watching him do what he did against Rick Russell, and the whole debacle of I was supposed to pitch the third inning, so I wanted to go to the bullpen. None of the veteran guys, being a rookie that I was, I had no idea how to get to the bullpen in Anaheim. None of the rookies would take me down there. They said, let's just watch the first inning, then we'll take you down in the second. Great. So second comes, and Rick's having a hard time, and Tommy Lasorda gets to the phone and he says, get Smoltz up. And I'm 10 feet from my manager. And he looked at me and says, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know how to get down there. He goes, how many pitches will it take you to get ready? I said, 7. And so I get down there in time to throw 7 warm-up pitches. I get in my first All-Star game, forget everything everybody told me before I left on what not to do. Mm-hmm. I get to a first and third situation. Bo Jackson's up, and it's a 1-2 count, and I'm thinking, okay, how do I get this guy to hit the ball on the ground so I can get out of this in a tie game? Routine ground ball hopper to Ozzie Smith, to Ryan Sandberg, throw to first, safe, beat it out. I got the loss. In my first All-Star game on Bo Jackson's historic power plus combination of speed. So, he may have given America what they wanted. He didn't give John Smoltz what he wanted.
So that's your introduction to the All-Star Game and an eventual 8 All-Star Game appearance Hall of Fame career. That was the way you started your All-Star career.
That's the way it started, and timing is everything, of course, and I've given up 2 runs in my All-Star appearances, and I have 2 losses.
Come on. Are you serious?
Yep.
What was the
2
other
tie
one?
games that I entered, I gave up a home run to Miguel Tejada in, of all places, my hometown, Tiger Stadium. Well, not the old Tiger Stadium,
sure,
but the new one. And, that was I was supposed to close the game in that year. Tony La Russa was the manager. And because they wanted guys who were quicker to home plate to help out Mike Piazza behind the plate, because he said everybody will steal in this game if we don't have our fastest time pitchers early in the game. So even though we want you to close the game, we want you to pitch as early as you can so that we can control the running game. Well, I controlled the running game, but I didn't control the ball that went out of the park at about 430 feet.
No kidding. And I think, was that your last All-Star game too? 05. That might be it.
Might have been. Let's see. I qualified later for San Francisco, but I had hurt myself and had to fly all the way back and went on the DL and wasn't able to make it back for the introductions, but I couldn't pitch. So
yeah, you made it in 07. So that's as you pointed out. But so all right, John Smoltz here in the Rich Eisen. Let's talk about the good times then. The 96 game you started and won. You won that one. That was in Philly, right, John? That
was a lot of fun. Yeah, I got to start through 2 innings. I was having a magical year. Of course, that finished off with a magical year and winning a Cy Young. But that was a lot of fun. And when you're in an All-Star game, you want to obviously compete, do well for your team, do well for that league. There's so many things that happen in a short period of time that, it is pretty incredible. No matter if you go to 1 or 15, like some of these guys have done, but it is. I said this earlier on, is that when you're a rookie, you just kind of crawl in your locker and you just sit there and you just hope, okay, this was back then, because you're filled with lockers that guys we're talking teams. They've been to teams All-Star game. They're routinely going there, and you're just checking in for your first time. You're the only representative. You just keep quiet. Then you're second and third. You go, okay, I belong here. I feel like I can compete with some of these guys. Today's rookies and young players are not only feeling like they belong, they're impactful, and there's no intimidation. The game's younger. The game's dynamic with young talent. So it's really changed. The culture has changed in how they walk in. It's like, I know I'm a bad dude, and everyone else knows I'm a bad dude, and I don't have to really feel like I have to sit back and, there's still some awe factor, but they've contributed at such a level that it's really different in how the All-Star games 20, 30 years ago compared to today.
Well, I'll tell you what, I know he's not playing tonight, but Vlad Jr. certainly looked pretty damn comfortable last night, John. That was amazing.
He did. He did, and it was an amazing. I've never seen anything quite like that. You know, some people can say the home run competition is XYZ to them or XYZ to them. Last night was one of those rare moments where not only was it introduced that $1 million goes to the winner, it was an epic battle between a young, up-and-coming superstar already and Jock Peterson, who just, to everyone who tuned into that one single battle, it was epic. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I found myself going, you got to be kidding me.
That's right.
Whether there was $1 or no dollars put on the winners. So, unfortunately, it cost either one of those a chance to win. That's the bad part, because they were exhausted.
Yeah, toast. I mean, you can't even imagine. But just the way that Peterson gave everybody a little bit of hope that he could dig out of that 29 home run deficit as he stepped to the plate, right? And the fact that he did in fact give people hope and then delivered by tying with no time left, leading to two different swing offs. That really was. I mean, you're right. Epic is the perfect word for it, John. That was amazing.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of, I believe, in Miami when Judge had to overcome and he made it look like ridiculously stupid. He went on a run that we just haven't seen. So last night was pretty cool.
John Smoltz here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get to the, topic du jour, and that's courtesy of Justin Verlander. And Verlander saying that he believes the balls are juiced in actual Major League competition this year. Would you agree with that assessment, John?
I would agree. The thing I always say is I'm going to err on the side of the expert who has in whatever their field is. Like a baseball in a hand of a third baseman is not the same as the hand of a pitcher, right? So you could blindfold me, put 10 different baseballs in my hand, and I could tell you exactly everything you need to know about them because I've had over 2 million in my hand. So when the ball feels different, as a pitcher, you know exactly. You've got the ball. It's the same thing as a photographer. I'm going to trust a photographer than my own eyes on what is a better shoot or a better picture making or a producer and all the different fields that, hey, they've done it long enough. So how much of it's intentional I can't even comprehend. But I would say this, percentage-wise, the ball's different. The commissioner has even echoed that. It's different. There's something different. They're trying to figure out why the ball's going farther, less drag, and why the leather is tighter than it maybe has been in the past. But also philosophically, the game has changed. So you're going to get more home runs whether the ball was juiced or not. It's just the style of baseball. It's the way that they're rewarding their players. It's the system the players are growing up in. So their idea of going to the plate and trying to go the other way and get a single is probably the farthest thing from most people's minds, with the exception of Mr. McNeil. And I think that in and of itself has a percentage bump. But it's the distances that are getting people a little bit more concerned to think that the ball's traveling farther and staying in the air longer. So that combination is creating a buzz where, okay, the pendulum has swung pretty far. Where does the pendulum come back? Where do we find the happy medium? Because in the NBA, they're shooting a ton of three-pointers. You could say the three-point shot, there's more three-pointers than ever before. Well, the reason is because they're shooting more. It's not necessarily there's greater shooters, although there are some. It's just that they're shooting more. And so the style of baseball is also creating to that.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, John, because you're right. With the NBA, it's just that everybody, it's now analytically and also coached, not just at the professional level, but for anybody coming up the ranks. Shoot threes. They'd rather you shoot the three than the mid-range jumper. Or if you are in deep two-point range, take a step back because you might as well get that extra point by attempting. It seems the same thing is being brought to bear in baseball by swing harder. Just swing harder. Swing over them. Right. You want to beat the shift, swing over it because exit velocity matters. Swing harder. It does appear to be a similar situation, John. Would you think?
It does, and the kind of the The reverse example would be is if they made the basketball smaller, you would think the shots being made are going to be easier in basketball, right? So if you're shooting more threes, it's easier to make them if the ball's smaller. Well, if the ball's harder and the ball travels farther, then it's easier to lift the ball in the air, keep it in the air longer, and therefore that's where the confusion's coming in with the ball either being juiced or the fact that it's going, distances we haven't seen in a long time. But guys are stronger. Guys are swinging the bat at an alarming bat speed that I just can't imagine is sustainable over a 10-year period. But we're going to find out if this style of baseball, if the pendulum swings back analytically within organizations that say, okay, we all have the same information, we're all doing the same thing, what's the advantage then? There's not much. Let's go back, let's make some changes, let's start to create some issues and stress on the base pass. I believe whether through rule changes or just teams zigging when everyone's zagging, eventually it'll come back and the fundamentals of baseball will be more integrated than this just monster baseball where guys are bigger, stronger, faster, and they just hit the ball all over the place. Because there's still an element that I, as a broadcaster and a fan of the game and love the game, I still want to see these guys play a long time. Now, if this formula allows them to play a long time, it certainly would have to buck the current trend that's going on right now with the injury rate, at which to get to this level, you have to be this kind of trained machine to hit the ball and be strong enough, and therefore you bring in the risk of a lot of injuries, and therefore the pitchers who throw the ball 97, 98, 99 miles an hour, that's harder to sustain. So that's what I'm looking to see, how that tracks. When you have a great example in tonight's starting lineup, the pitchers that are going for the American and National League, a great example of the polar opposites of pitchers. Ryu's dominated this year without 95. Verlander has dominated with the ability to throw 95 well up into his ears, cruise control, and his ability to just transform time and look like he could pitch till he's 45.
Well, I mean, in the couple minutes I have left with you here, John Smoltz, a couple more things that Verlander said that certainly one thing that has already disturbed the commissioner, Rob Manfred, who said this morning, just moments ago, saying, quote, there is no desire on part of ownership to increase the number of homers in the game, vehemently denying what Verlander's saying, that it's 100% the league has purposefully implemented juiced baseballs to increase offense. Do you think baseball has done something like that?
No, that's where I don't know, how you can know as a pitcher that something's not right, but then I don't know if you can go as far as to say that you feel like it's intentional. Again, all the things we discovered are going to be thrown in the hat, and what percentage that comes out. Manufacturing a baseball, from what I believe, from what I understand, is not done just simply by one company. There's multiple facets and handmade, and the technology may have allowed incidental things to happen that weren't intended by a new way of making the baseball. So it's in every other sport. It's in golf. I mean, at some point, the ball technology and just how far everybody's hit, we're enamored with it. We love it. Golfers, baseball in college, bats, all the different things that you try to reel back in. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of the information that they're trying to look for to see why the baseballs are going. Not to mention the air and all the things that we deal with today.
Well, I got one more minute left, if you can, best you could tell. Verlander told ESPN, I hate the way I feel out there. No matter who's the batter, I feel like I'm constantly walking a tightrope. How does that affect a pitcher, John?
Well, it affects your mentality of how you pitch. And look, this is a guy that when the baseball gets to the highest point in pressure, he'll pitch differently anyways. Postseason, he's dominated because he can. In a regular season game, I said the same thing. I give up a lot of home runs that probably would never give up in a postseason because you're going to take more chances with a 3-1, 2-1 fastball. And what I think he's saying is you can't take those chances anymore. The eighth and ninth hole hitter can take you the other way based on the distance the ball is traveling and the way the parks are made. So I understand in theory what he's saying because as a pitcher, you don't want to be embarrassed. You want to get it done, just like a hitter doesn't want to get embarrassed. He wants to get it done. So he's a world-class pitcher that has adjusted at every level, and he will continue to adjust no matter what the baseball is or isn't because he has that capability. And I think the game the athletes in today's game will learn how to adjust. Some won't. Some won't survive it. Some will suffer because of it, but most will be able to understand that this is how I have to play the game differently. Our reward system was different. There were more Tony Gwynn's.
Yeah.
There were more guys that put the ball in play. That's the way the game was played then. You have to play in the era of which you are being rewarded to do. John,
you're the best. Enjoy tonight with Joe. I know I will. I appreciate the call. We'll chat soon. We'll chat soon.
All right, thanks.
You bet. That's John Smoltz calling a game for Fox tonight with Joe Buck.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.